ladies and gentlemen, mums and dads. This is a subject that I've been wanting to cover for a little while. I put out a little feeler post the other day just to see where people are at, and I was actually quite surprised to see that more people were training at home. That's absolutely fine, and that just means that we need to adapt a few things. But here's a little bit of this is a little bit of a kind of a conversation just to help you understand kind of like the pros and cons to the two different options and kind of where they sit. So, does it actually matter whether you train at home or whether you train at the gym? And ultimately, the answer to this is yes, absolutely it does, because the two do very, very different things. And for your specific circumstance, you're going to absolutely want to think about what's going to be more effective for you. There are certain questions you want to ask that the answer will dictate whether it's better to train at home or at the gym. There are some questions that a lot of people ask themselves that are not good questions for that. And they hinge around kind of insecurity and being anxious around doing one or the other. For example, anxiety around other people, being at the gym. Another one, anxiety around doing the right thing, worrying about like whether or not they're actually going to get the most from their sessions. That's what makes people anxious about working out at home. But we'll go through that a little bit more in detail in just a second. Now, ultimately, there is a continuum in terms of the things that you can do at home and the things that you can do at a gym. Now, if you go and slam in 50 pieces of equipment into your garage, you're actually training at the gym, but it's something to consider. Most people that train at home, equipment is quite limited. So the reality is that they're more likely to be doing exercise than training. Let me give you an example. If you were to do a circuit of squats, push-ups, sit-ups, and some banded tricep extensions, something like that, I would push that towards exercise. Now, the reason for that is that you can't really make that much harder unless you kind of push to perceive that that's harder. With training, we would look for something called progressive overload. So if you're doing push-ups, you'd move through to a dumbbell bench press at the gym, and you'd look to start tracking those numbers as you go. So working out at home tends to be more exercise, and that's great for certain people. And then the stuff that you do at the gym tends to be more training based. Now, there is and this is why I say it's a continuum, is that some people will have access to more kit, some people will have access to less. And then the sort of style of what they're doing will fall along this continuum. What we want to do is absolutely get you exercising, but we also want to introduce a small amount of training. This is where people start to go wrong, is they tend to mishmash that into one thing. And this is where we call things like running a training session. Now, unless you're training for something, unless you're being very specific with that run session would be more exercise for you and would probably fall more into daily activity. Bear that continuum in mind as we work through that. Now, when people look at making the decision, these are the kind of things that people are thinking of. They're thinking cost, like how much is it actually going to cost me to go and get stuck into this? Is it going to be an expensive gym membership? Am I going to have to kit my home gym out? Cost is going to be an important part of that. People, I've just come back from my session. My gym recently closed and I've been forced to move to a different one. I'm going to be honest, I'm not enjoying it as much as the gym that I used to train at. And that's very much down to the people that are there. It's a lot busier. It's a lot cheaper as well. So you tend to get people that have got nothing to lose by joining. They're not really there for anything. They're just kind of going in and doing something. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but you do attract a different crowd. What's easier? What's easier for you to do? Can you just pick up and go? Or is it going to be easier for you to go to a gym and go to work straight afterwards? Are there showers? Are you working from home? So actually, it's almost like there's no point in going to the gym. You might as well just stay in the same place the whole time at the same time. Is it easy for you to get out and about? Travel time's another one. This is actually one of the reasons that I'm looking at changing gyms, is because I have to drive to get to the gym that I go to. I hate that. It doesn't sit well with me. I'd much rather get on my bike or walk somewhere. The gym I used to go to, I used to ride my bike. I had an arrangement there with them to leave my bike in reception, and that was really easy for me. Having to travel for 20, 30 minutes, you're not going to do it if it's going to throw barriers in there. And then luxury, does it have nice little bits and pieces? Are you Is it nicer for you to stay at home and have a shower and not have to pack a wash bag? Like, is there a spa at the gym that you think you might like to use? These things are all going to come into the thought process, but there are some real pros and cons when you start coming through to looking at training at home and looking at training at the gym. So training at home, the pros. Once you're actually set up, it's a lot cheaper than buying a gym membership. Now, I've known people that have gone out and spent 150, 200 quid on equipment, things like bands, things like dumbbells. If you want to know the equipment to buy, let me know. I also know people that have spent 10 grand on bespoke flooring. I know people that have spent 20 grand by actually building like a log cabin in their back garden and then kitting it out with a squat rack, kitting it out with kettlebells, dumbbells. They've even got like a ski erg in there. Another pro is that is that there's no commute. You don't have to travel there unless you've got a really long garden. So you can just jump straight in the morning. If you ever come up against a problem, let's say you're doing like landmine attachment stuff and you haven't got a landmine, you're the manager of that gym, go buy it. Go fix that problem. And you control the environment as well, which means that if you like it to be chilled out, put some music on. If it's too cold, get some insulation. If you can hear next door, get some padding between the walls, something like that. The cons. For proper home gyms, there's a huge initial outlay. Like I said, between 10 and 20 grand to actually kit one out properly. Now, the cost-benefit analysis between gyms and home gyms, like, do the maths. Even if it was if it was like £100 a month, let's call it £90 a month. That's going to be what, £1,000 a year. That's 20 years it's going to take you to break even on a 20 grand gym. It doesn't really work. Limited equipment. I personally, in terms of programming, I always train at a gym. I like getting away. It's much easier for me to program for someone to enjoy their workouts and to progress really quickly from a gym. And that all comes down to like the limited use of equipment. All you got to do is look at lockdown programs and you see that very quickly. There was only so many mountain climbers and burpees and banded whatevers that you could do during lockdown before it started to become very repetitive. And it's still the same. Unless you've got lots of kit, that does happen. It's also hard to motivate. Now, I always tell a story of when I was younger, trying to do homework and putting a desk in my bedroom. If I went and did my homework at a library, I'd walk in, the atmosphere was right straight away. I'd be super productive doing my homework. If I ever tried to do it in my bedroom, I'd do 5 minutes of work and I'd find myself like with my Xbox controller suddenly playing on Call of Duty or something like that. So that was a big thing to consider. The atmosphere is really hard to create as well. So when you get in there at 6 o'clock in the morning and it's just like you can hear crickets, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do press ups now. Like, that atmosphere is very hard to create. Other people create it for you at the gym. And the other thing is you've got to clean it. So you've got to spend that time cleaning it. Otherwise, if you've got pets, if you've got children, if your dog goes in there and wants to roll around on the floor, you're going to be doing burpees in dog hair. Like, you've got to clean that stuff. Let's look at the gym. So you can see this, and I'm going to do my take at the end, but if you look at the balance between pros and cons, you can kind of see where we're going with this one. So the pros, joining a gym is cheaper than building a home gym in the short term, especially if you find some cheaper gym memberships, which are out there now. There are pros and cons to cheap gym memberships than to expensive ones. It is cheaper in the short term. Huge flexibility in equipment. I can give you 50 different exercises for a bicep curl. If you go to a gym, I can give you 100 different variations of squats. You'll never get bored. If you've got someone that's good at programming, you will never get bored of your training. There's also a great atmosphere. It comes with having a gym. There'll be other people in there working hard, and that's quite hard not to get pulled into. When you get in there, everyone else is working hard, so you just naturally slot into that. It creates a habit as well. So you've actually got somewhere to go specifically for this. So little things like once you get out of the car, you carry your shaker with you. It's got your caffeine pre-workout. You shake it up, you go in there. That stuff becomes habit. And having somewhere to go where you do that is really helpful. You don't have to clean it. So you'll see the cleaners in there, sweeping, mopping, doing whatever they need to do. Changing rooms, toilets, showers, all those things that are all nice and clean. You don't have to do anything for it. Showers are a biggie because When you're at home, if you work out in the morning, you wake up the family, you wake up the kids, there's other people trying to use the bathroom. When you're at the gym, you just get your kit off, jump in the shower. It's almost always warm. I used to hate being a gym manager when the showers were cold. We, as managers, we were always pretty motivated to make sure that didn't happen. And the last thing is, there's often a spa as well. So if you ever want to go chill out, sauna, steam room, jacuzzi, take your friends, it's a nice place to be. The cons: long-term cost ends up being high, and you do end up paying more for better gyms. For example, if you want to go to a gym where everyone's focused, the people that are there have paid good money to be there and they want to get the most out of it. Those people tend to be more motivated. It creates a better environment. That cost is quite high. I remember joining a really expensive gym when I was about 21, and I panicked about the cost of it for a long time. And then when I finally joined and started going and I realized what I was paying for, it was the only payment going out every month. I never noticed. So it is worth spending that little bit more. You have to travel there. Getting up in the morning, driving there, cycling, whatever you do, you have to travel there. But again, if you're commuting or anything like that, it could be on the way. In that case, location's important. Also, again, remember, go back to the atmosphere. Atmosphere is really important, and habits really important. I'm in trouble for not going and saying goodnight quick enough. But it creates the habit by getting in the car and going. And the other thing, the con, there are other people. I have had bad experiences in gyms where other people have just been like, people are smelly. Like, I've been to the gym, I'm probably that guy right now. People grunt and swear. It sucks, but it's a reality that when you go and spend time with people doing, and you can go to a restaurant, you can go to Nando's and you'll get the same thing. It's just a con of actually spending time with other people. So my take on it, I would always, at the heart of it, I want you to be the most successful in your journey possible. The variety that you'll be able to do in the gym will help you stick at it longer. The efficacy of the programs that we can put together will help you stick with things longer and get better results in the long term. And if you've got long-term results in mind, gym is definitely the best shout. I definitely value home workouts, and there is a place for them, but they're more of a feeder into getting you pushed through to that next level. Guys, I hope this helps, and I'll speak to you on Wednesday.